I have spent the last 30 minutes thinking if I want to do this or not, but here we are. So as you can guess, probably, I have chosen to do this video. So let's get started. So what is it that we're gonna do today? There is a project, my 4th book that I released, which is now unpublished because it was not a good book, okay? I just finished Blood Queen, a sequel to Vicious Princess, which is my latest release. I should start working on the 3rd book. I already drafted a little bit of it, but I kind of wanted to do a fun project for November. I know that NaNoWriMo is kind of technically dead. However, I do like the idea of participating into NaNoWriMo challenge. I have done it in the past. It was very fun. This November, unfortunately, the majority of the time, I'm actually gonna spend traveling for work. I'm going to Mexico and then going to the States, and I'm only going back home in December. But anyway, despite that, I wanted to pick a project that's fun. So I thought it would be maybe fun to do a little preptober vlog, working on Masters of Blood, reworking the whole book and making it better so that I could potentially release it in October next year, right after the last book in Trials of Death and Honor series comes out, right? Let's sit down and see where this project is at and what we can do. I'll be honest, I already done some work. I've read a couple of first chapters and I have been thinking about it. That's why I kind of chose this project, because it's been on my mind. And I feel I've done some world building brainstorming. And I made some notes for myself. So I will go back to those notes. So let's sit down and I'm gonna walk you through my plan of how I think I want to revise this project. This is the book that we're gonna be working on, Masters of Blood. This is strictly romance, okay? Strictly romance. Usually my fantasy romance has a plot and then there's romance, obviously. However, this time around, no fucking plot. No plot at all. This is all romance, spice, kink, vampires, blood, and the vibes. That's all. Plot? Who? What? Haven't heard. And there is some world building brainstorm that I did that I actually really like. And I feel adding that detail is gonna make the book stand out a little bit more. This is a map, essentially, of the world. I kind of love this map. It's beautiful. However, I'm gonna have to add a little bit to it to kind of accommodate the new world that I'm gonna build. Currently, we have vampires, humans, and fae. And honestly, upon further consideration, I want to remove the fae. And I'm gonna just keep vampires, and we're gonna add dragons, because I kind of thought about the world creation tale, and it makes sense to have dragons. I'm no painter, no drawer, I do not draw, okay? So I suck at it, but I always make a sketch of my maps so I can visualize the world. So I'm gonna actually do that at some point, maybe tomorrow. I'm not sure if I'm gonna do it today, but once I do, I'm gonna share it with you. And I'm also gonna do creation tale. I don't know if I want to include the creation tale, but I kind of dig the way it is right now. Okay, one thing I really don't like, oh, spider, my god. Ugh. Disgusting. One of the things that people didn't like was the main character. They loved her best friend, Annika. They did not like the main character. Her name is Lavana. I mean, it's so unfortunate, but people don't like main character, right? But to be honest, after reading it, I don't like her either. Okay, let me tell you how the book starts. The book opens up with a prologue, which is from King Orion's. The prologue is from his perspective, and he sees her, and he's like, oh my god, who is this woman? And he finds out that she's engaged to marry this ugly and disgusting human king, right? King Nicholas. So he's obsessed. Then the first chapter is obviously Lavana. So she's this sheltered princess who has a narcissistic mother and neglectful father, and she's been always kept hidden from the world. She was always kept to be, married off as a part of alliance. And her best friend Annika lives with her because she's also a princess, but Annika doesn't want to be a princess, and she's kind of this free soul, and she's fuck everyone, I'm gonna fuck men and have fun and all that jazz. So Annika tells her in the first chapter that, oh my god, did you hear when you went to that meeting where you met other kingdom rulers? King Orion, the hot, dangerous vampire king, he kind of offered your dad to pay a lot of money. He was allowed to marry you. But obviously, Lavana is but I'm gonna marry King Nicholas and all of that. And then we see Lavana getting ready for her engagement party, that she has this little conservatory, and she has her cat. Her mother's kind of very controlling, and we get to see that a little bit. And then we see that her father's not a very good ruler, just kind of setting up the tone, right? She doesn't want to marry King Nicholas, but she's like, okay, this is my life, I guess, whatever. She's just kind of like passively waiting for her engagement party. Yeah, this is essentially the start. The catalyst of the whole story was supposed to be that during her engagement party, she gets kidnapped by King Orion. This start is actually, I don't know, when I was rereading it, for me, it was kind of boring. So I already kind of brainstormed a little bit of like how this beginning could be a little bit better. So I'm gonna use Plottr, as I always do. I'm gonna be using Save the Cat beats, and I'm also gonna be using Romancing the Beat, Save the Cat, for the story beats. Buddy love is essentially often what romance movies, books are. A hero is transformed by meeting someone else, including but not limited to love stories, friendship stories, and pet stories. And then the second book I'm gonna be using, which I have used for Vicious Princess for the first time, which is Romancing the Beat. I wanna really like refine the romance arc in Masters of Blood through Romancing the Beat to ensure that all the beats are there so the story is satisfying, because if it's romance and it's not satisfying, then it's, you know, like it sucks, right? I'm gonna share how I structure my Plottr with you once I set up my template, so you can actually have a look and see the way I like to do it before I start putting up the story beats. So I did set up my little Plottr. So here you can see actually 4 different lines, right? The first is Save the Cat, which I put together just to help me kind of orient myself in the story. Then Levana is our main character. It's gonna be from her POV, first person narrative. In the original Masters of Blood, it's past tense. However, right now I write in the present and actually prefer to write in the present, so I'm gonna rewrite it in the present tense. And then you see Romancing the Beat, and this one is actually comes with Plottr. Like they have it like as a template, and it's so fucking useful, because here you can actually see the explanation as well of like every single beat, which is so helpful if you're writing. Here you can just see all the beats that you need to hit. Obviously the Save the Cat one is gonna be adjusted, and I will see depending on the story and how many like fun games I need, how many like bad guys closing in and all that jazz. And then the butter, this is the course I took by the author of 7 Figure Fiction. So I'm actually gonna be using her workbook and her course and everything I've learned to essentially butter up the story, because it really helped me with Vicious Princess. So yeah, that's my setup. Next step is gonna be actually going the beginning of this. So I'm gonna outline the start until the catalyst with my new revised beats and see how that flows. It's been like an hour, I think, a little bit more. I'm happy to report that while it was hard to get into this whole revision, reworking at first, I'm kind of like getting into it, so that's exciting. I did rework all the beats up until the break into 2. In the original Masters of Blood, it was a little bit all over the place, and the catalyst was not the right catalyst. The catalyst from Masters of Blood, OG, is now break into 2, so that's fun. I did change some things, giving Levana a little bit more agency, as well as a little bit of a more determination. I was thinking a lot about my brand as an author, because right now, if someone picks up Vicious Princess and they pick up my other series, which is House of Pain and Precious Villains, the tone of voice is so different and the writing is so different that it's not a consistent experience for a reader. If someone loved Vicious Princess and they wanted something more from me because that's the bar I set, and they pick up House of Pain, they're gonna be very disappointed because it's not gonna be what they expect. I was kind of thinking about what sort of like author brand I want to create and what I want the readers to expect. And obviously one thing is morally great characters. This is something I always write. I'm not interested in writing goody two shoes unless I'm writing a corruption arc, then fuck yeah I am. Second thing, obviously, spice. Me, I'm always open door and very spicy, and sometimes even kinky, like in Masters of Blood. And the other thing I thought that kind of works for my brand is writing feisty, dangerous woman, which is like Phoenix is that, and she is super strong-headed and like kind of like determined, and I want Levana to be that because she's not that right now. And then also in House of Pain, the main character Alecto, she is a feisty, determined woman who's not breakable. So yeah, that's why I kind of like changed Levana's character and like her personality just like a little bit, and I added some fun things which I'm not gonna spoil. It was very helpful to kind of change the vibe of the story. The buddy love is the genre, and buddy love has 3 main components. So first one is incomplete hero, second is a counterpart, and the third is a complication. So the incomplete hero is essentially the hero of the story. The counterpart is supposed to be a pet, a friend, a lover, who essentially kind of like makes them whole or helps them learn a lesson. And then a complication is why a counterpart and incomplete hero cannot be together. So, you know, it can be societal pressure or like anything that's holding them apart. That obviously incomplete hero is Lavanna, and she desired one true love. But due to her life circumstances, she's a princess that has a duty to marry a king from another kingdom to secure an alliance. Due to those circumstances, she believes that romantic love that shakes your life, someone loves you unconditionally, is just not in the cards for her. So she's like, fuck you all. A counterpart obviously is Orion, her fated mate, the king of the vampires. And then a complication is that she's engaged to the other king, and he's a dangerous vampire king. Cannot be together because there is tension between human rulers and vampire rulers. The fact that he wants her and that they're fated mates is threatening the peace of the realm. I feel like the story is gonna be much more full and a little bit more like fast-paced and spicy, where like you want to turn the pages, because right now it's a little bit boring. It's just like a princess sitting there and be like, oh, my life is over because I'm gonna be married to another king, but I'm not gonna do anything. I'm just gonna try on dresses and be like moody about it. So, you know, like, bitch, get a grip. It's been very fun and I'm very excited. And in my mind, I'm already starting to think about all the marketing incentives and like the artwork and how I want to like really push the pre-orders and kind of like get people excited for this release. It's just the way my fucking brain works. But yeah, I'm gonna check in with you at some point on where we are next.